Hi guys, I'm Cosmo. I'm here at Dean's shop in Glendale, California. I'm going to go inside and have a haircut and a conversation with one of the finest sleight of hand coin magicians in the world. Why don't you guys come on in? Hey Dean.
Yes.
How did you get involved in magic?
Well, when I was a kid, maybe 10 or 11, I used to frequent the magic shop at Disneyland. And I would stand there for hours and hours watching the guys do their thing behind the counter. That's when I realized I loved magic, but I didn't really start until years later. Loved to watch them do sponge balls, and I guess it was the Svengali deck, and I used to buy a few tricks, take them home and play them on my friends, and then I'd forget about it. Years went by, and there was a guy at the tennis courts who knew a card trick. He showed it to all the people that would come to the little booth, and I was one of them. And he did this trick, and it just absolutely blew my mind. I had to know how this trick worked. I asked him, and he said, well, magicians don't tell their methods. Of course, he wasn't really a magician. He just knew that one card trick. But in my mind, he was a magician. So I decided the only way I'd learn that trick would be to learn something that he would want, and maybe he would trade. So I went and got a book. I think it was Walter Gibson's book on card magic. And I learned, I think it was Di Vernon put out the trick with the 5-card mental, it's called, where you lay 5 cards out and you have them think of one. And I think the 4 of hearts was the 4th card at that point. So I went to the booth and it worked, and he just went crazy. He said, I got to learn that. I said, well, we can negotiate here. You teach me that one, I'll teach you this one. And that's kind of where it all got started. Once I learned that trick, and it had to do with the glide, where you would show a card, and you wouldn't see your card, and then he'd lay it on the table. I couldn't imagine how that card got down there at the end, but it was using the glide. So that was the first sleight I ever learned, was the glide. And I must have done that card trick for years before I really got hooked into magic. I started cutting hair in my old shop, and Monty Smith used to come in, and he knew a card trick, and so did I. I knew a couple of card tricks, he knew a few, and we traded. From that point on, we'd get together every day, every week for lunch, and practice magic tricks.
At this point, were you doing gigs?
No, I was only doing a few gigs for free, because at the time I didn't feel I was really a true professional. I felt that I was just an enthusiast. So I, you know, once in a while I'd get a $25 fee for a show, and somebody would ask me to come to their parties, and that they'd pay me more. And I was a little afraid at that time because I didn't know if I was worthy to be paid as a professional. So I did a bunch of free shows, and then decided that, hey, I might as well join the club and make a few bucks and do something I love. And it went from there.
And then how did the Carson thing happen?
So I guess I was performing for maybe 6 or 7 years at that point, professionally. And Doug Malloy was working at Hollywood Magic. And one day, and I think it was around 1987, I just happened to call the magic shop to ask Doug a question. He says, Dean, you're not going to believe it. Johnny Carson's here. For years, I used to watch his show, and I used to think, boy, it'd be neat to meet him. He seems like such a neat guy. Of course, I'm sure everybody felt that way. Doug, how long is he going to be there? He says, I don't know. I said, well, go ask him. Tell him you've got a friend who makes a close-up pad that's really nice, and he may be interested in one of mine, and if so, I'll bring one over. You can see it. So Doug went and asked Johnny, and he came back to the phone. He says, Johnny said he'd wait for you. So I'm in Eagle Rock, probably 15 minutes away. And I said to my wife, I said, honey, I got to go. I just packed my pockets with a deck of cards and a few coins and a close-up pad and flew to Hollywood. Walked in Hollywood Magic, and there was Johnny at the end of the counter doing some coin tricks with Doug Malloy.
Wow.
From Malloy Modern Magic. Thank you, Doug. So he says, here's Dean, he is my friend, he does coin magic, and would you like to see him do something? So I did one of my coin tricks for him, and he went crazy. He went, wow, that was really good. I've never seen anything like that before, and I'm thinking, well, he's probably just being nice to me. But I could tell he was impressed. And so I thought to myself, I just got to do magic for Johnny Carson. And Doug says, here, Johnny, here's my card in case you need anything. And I'm standing there thinking, what do I say? Do I give him my card? No, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to play it cool, right? So Johnny leaves the shop. And Doug and I are standing there going, wow, that was neat. Just think, we got to do magic for Johnny Carson. So the following week, I was cutting Johnny Gaughan's hair. And I said, John, I got to do magic for Johnny Carson last week. And he got all excited. He says, you're kidding. He says, you know, John Schrumm's the art director on his show. And I know John Schrumm real well. And we need to hook you up. I said, all right. So I packaged up a close-up pad. I put in a trick. I can't remember what it was now. I gave it to John Gaughan. He says, I'm going to give it to John Schrumm, and he's going to make sure this gets on Johnny's desk. About a week after that, I get a phone call at home. My answering machine says, hello, Dean Dill. This is Johnny Carson. I'd like to talk to you. Give me a call when you get a chance. Well, my wife was there. She didn't want to pick up the phone because she was just going, oh, my gosh, Johnny Carson's calling. I want my husband to hear this message. So I'm going to save it for him. So I come back from the lumber yard. She goes, listen to the answering machine. And I just about passed out. I couldn't believe it. So I called him right back. And when I called him, Dean, thanks so much for the package. In fact, in the package, I wrote a note. And I said, if you're ever interested in learning any of these close-up tricks, just give me a call. I'd be happy to show you some of the coin magic that I showed him at the magic shop. So there he was on the phone. He says, I'm interested. I got your note. I'd like to learn some of those things. When can we get together? I said, well, let me go look at my schedule. Of course. I didn't have any schedule at that time because I was so amazed that he called me. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even think. So 5 weeks later, here I am driving the Ventura Freeway thinking, about 6 o'clock in the evening, thinking, I'm going to Johnny Carson's house. Now this is good. Amazing. This is good. The whole time I'm going, okay, I can handle this. You know, I'm the magician. I think I have, I'm in a good position because when you do something like that and they're in awe of you, it's like you're the man for at least that moment. Right. I thought, well, this is really neat. But still, I was nervous about it. So I get to Johnny's house. He invites me in. His wife introduces me to Alex. And so we sit down and do magic for about 4 hours. But the interesting part about that evening was the fact that he said, one of these days I want to have you on the show.
Wow.
And when I heard that, I thought, no, I couldn't have heard that right. He says, yeah, I'd like to have you on the show someday. Because he was pretty in awe of what I was doing, I could tell. Yeah. And so I thought, well, that's an opportunity of a lifetime. I said, at least I can go tell my friends and family that Johnny invited me on the Tonight Show. But I thought to myself, I said, boy, I don't know about that. On the Tonight Show? Whew, boy, that was a potent thought for me to think about. So I guess for the next 3 years, I would go to his house and show him stuff, and we'd hang out. One time I was there with Paul Gertner, and I played tennis with him on his tennis court one time. And each time I was there, he would always ask me, he'd say, now, you know, let me know when you've got about 10 minutes ready, because I'd like to have you on the show. And I used to, and I remember myself thinking and saying, oh, okay, Mr. Carson, I'll let you know. The whole time thinking, I don't think I have the nerve to do this. I mean, I want to do it, but I don't think I have the nerve. Because, boy, it was scary to think about that. Here I am, a barber in Glendale, and he's asking me to be on the Tonight Show. He doesn't even know if I can perform. Evidently, he had enough confidence in me to think that, you know, I could pull it off. So I think he was going to go off the air in about 1992, and I had been frequenting his place for about 4 years. And my wife and my friends kept saying, well, Dean, what's going on? How come you're not on the show yet? And I would just make excuses. Like, well, you know, Johnny's not ready yet. Actually, I wasn't ready. So I thought, you know what, if I'm ever going to do this, I better do it now. So one of my last times at his house, he asked me the same question, and I said, I'm ready. Within a week, they were calling me. So I had 2 weeks to think about it. They changed the date one time to Thanksgiving Day, and I figured, well, Thanksgiving Day, the day I die. You know, I thought to myself, I wonder if I could be any more nervous going in front of a firing squad than I am right now, going to be on the Tonight Show. But at the same time, I knew I had to do it. It was going to be a great opportunity. And to tell you the truth, I almost bailed out. 4 days before, I told Monty Smith, I said, Monty, I don't think I can do this. I'm going to call in sick. He says, no, you're not. You're going to do this. If you call in sick, you will never, ever forgive yourself. I said, I know. So finally, I just let it happen. Days got closer. My wife and I went down. She stayed in the green room. And, you know, you just go do your thing. One of my main concerns was either forgetting my lines, shaking so much that it became so obvious they'd have to say, cut the film and let's get this guy off the show. Or one thing I thought of was, I walk out from behind the curtains, they introduce me, and as soon as I walk out from behind the curtains, I just pass out right back through the curtains. And they bring out a stretcher and they go, well, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, the magician will not be with us tonight. All these things go through your head.
Sure.
I remember Paul Gertner telling me, you know, whatever you do, don't do something sensitive right up to the camera with your hands, because you're pretty nervous at that time. So get yourself worked into the routine. That's why I decided to do the silk routine. So my hands were moving, keep myself, you know, lubricated. And then once I got to that point, I could relax and do the rest of the show. Once that was over, my wife and I hightailed it out of that theater, or out of that studio, got in our car and went home. What a feeling. Except, now I had to go watch myself at 11 o'clock that night, thinking, oh, you know, watching yourself is tough because you're so critical. My family's all excited, and I'm thinking, I don't really want to watch this. But of course I had to watch it, so we watched it, and it, you know, went fairly well, because you're always criticizing yourself more than others do. Everybody says you did a great job, and you're just going, okay, I believe you. That was pretty much it. From that point on, you know, people knew me from the Tonight Show, and I thought, wow, you know, I'm just a barber in Glendale. And I got a great opportunity, wonderful opportunity. Opportunity of a lifetime. And Johnny was very gracious. He helped out a lot. He made sure that, he told me, he says, look, I don't want to know what tricks you're going to do, and it's going to be spontaneous. I don't want to be at the rehearsal. You just do what you think will play the best. He left it up to me. Yeah. I said, well, that was neat. Yeah. So I figured I'd do one coin trick, because he loved coins, and I did the silk trick and then a card in orange. And all three of those routines are on my, in my book.
Wow, that's fantastic. What a great experience.
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
You had an accident, pretty serious car accident back in 2006, and I really don't want to talk to you about the accident itself, but I would like to know, how did the magic community react to this whole thing? Did they rally?
They rallied in the most amazing way. They saved my life, pretty much. I might have had to close down my shop and everything in it, but they came to my aid and sent money and helped pay most of the medical bills, and I just can't thank them enough. Everyone involved in that. I'm just, couldn't be more thankful. So I thank God for giving them the urge to do it and help me in that too. So
I do want to ask you one more thing. Can you show us the triangle? The
triangle, sure, absolutely. I'd love to. Okay, well, let me finish you up here, and then we'll move right in, and I'll show you the miracle of Dean's triangle. Okay.
Well, Dean, this is a beautiful piece of apparatus here now. Exactly what do you do with this?
Well, I don't do anything. It actually does itself. I'll show you what I mean. You've probably heard of the Bermuda Triangle. Most people have. Sure. And this is my version of the Bermuda Triangle called the Glendale Triangle. And in a moment, this little spot right here is going to open up. And these 3 coins are going to pass right through. And they say that a triangle has 3 points, and I'm going to be using 3 coins for my demonstration. And before I start, I want you just to make sure it's solid from the top. Make sure it's solid from the bottom. And if you put your right hand out flat like a table, and just hold the coins for just a moment. Now I want you to move your hand right over this area and tell me if you feel anything strange. Any vibrations? You feel that vibration?
Yes, I can.
Is that me or you?
I think it's you.
I think that, okay. Now if you just move out of frame for just a moment, I think we're going to watch this area open up just like magic. I'm going to take the first coin and push it right through the table. That's number 1. Do me a favor and drop it inside the little bowl. All right. And thank you for helping. Watch as the second coin passes. From here to here. That's 2 through and 1 to go. They always say the third one should be the best. And in this case, I promise it will be. I'm going to break down the prop here for just a second so you can actually see right through the glass. Now we know the coin's on top. There's no doubt about that. Watch as it drills its way right down through the glass. Now remember the 2 coins that have already passed through, and the third one just like that.
That's fantastic.
That looked pretty good, didn't it?
That's fantastic.
You know, it's so funny. As many times as I've done this, people have said, well, you know, it seems like you always have to cover that area. What if we took the 3 coins and placed them on the glass one last time, and I gave you a choice which coin you'd like to see pass through? Number 1, top, middle, or bottom. Choose the coin, top, middle, or bottom.
Top.
This one right here, don't blink. If you notice, the 2 coins are left, and 1 has gone through, and that's 1, 2, 3 coins through the table. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed.
Thanks very much, Steve. It's
You're
fantastic.
welcome.